You think you know struggle. You think hardship is a temporary storm you can wait out, a passing inconvenience in the comfortable illusion you call life. But what if I told you that the world doesn't bend for the timid, that every failure, every betrayal, every silent dismissal is a blade sharpened specifically to test the depth of your resolve? You are surrounded by people who quit before the battle begins, who trade vision for comfort, who barter courage for the dull safety of mediocrity. And somewhere deep inside, you feel it too, the whisper that maybe, just maybe, your own strength is not enough. This is the paradox you must endure, not because the world will reward you immediately, but because enduring is the only proof you exist at all. The first hint of clarity is cruel. You are not special in the eyes of the universe. It does not bend, it does not pause, it does not care. And yet, within that indifference lies freedom. The moment you stop pleading for life to be easier, you can begin to wield it as it truly is a forge for the relentless. History is littered with those who surrendered to the weight of difficulty. Machiavelli wrote of power and cunning, of the cold, cruel mechanics of human ambition. Yet even he recognized that the most dangerous enemy often sits within. Stoics, centuries before him, embraced suffering as the forge of the soul, teaching that the obstacle itself is the path, that the world is indifferent, and that indifference is not cruelty, it is clarity. Seneca, battered by exile, by betrayal, by the merciless tides of politics, understood that the only fortress worth building is internal. And so you must look at the mirror and ask, do I shrink at adversity, or do I sharpen myself against it? Every setback you encounter is a test, not of circumstance, but of character. The world will not pause for your hesitation. Every second you waste wishing for easier roads is a second closer to irrelevance. It whispers to you in subtle ways, quit, settle, lower your standards, because life is too cruel, too unpredictable. And yet every man who matters in history ignored that whisper. Every woman who transformed the world understood it as a challenge, to endure, to resist, to rise. Imagine the mind as a battlefield. Every fear you harbor, every doubt that whispers in your ear, every I can't, is a soldier in the enemy's army. And yet, what is most terrifying is not the enemy, it is your surrender. Quitting is seductive. It promises rest, relief, the sweet illusion that you are safe. But safety is death in disguise. Your dreams, your purpose, your very potential is rotting quietly behind the walls you build when you choose comfort over courage. Every successful person you admire understood this instinctively. They knew that discomfort is the currency of growth, that pain is the forge, and that endurance is the measure of the human spirit. You must train yourself to welcome struggle like an old adversary, to greet difficulty with the calm understanding that it is here to sharpen you. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. The human mind is capable of both salvation and sabotage, often simultaneously. To endure, you must recognize which voice within you to obey. Every decision, every reaction is a test of allegiance. Do you serve the fear that wants to protect you from growth, or do you serve the courage that will carve your name into history? Consider the psychological terrain of ambition. You are not just fighting external pressures, you're contending with the internal tyrant of self-doubt. It whispers incessantly, preys on your insecurities, lulls you into lethargy. Yet every master of life understands a brutal fact. The internal tyrant is strongest when you feed it. Resistance is not simply a reaction to circumstance. It is a deliberate cultivation of inner power. You must discipline your thoughts, regiment your emotions, and train your perception to see obstacles not as barriers, but as markers on the map of mastery. Every challenge avoided is a muscle never built. Every fear coddled is a chain fastened around your potentials. The darkness inside you is not an enemy to flee. It is a labyrinth to experiment, a crucible to purify, a forge to temper the steel of your will. And as you walk through this darkness, each step forward, however painful, is a declaration: I will not quit, because surrender is not an option. Look around you. Humanity worships comfort while demonizing struggle. Society conditions you to fear resistance, to shrink from difficulty, to avoid pain at almost any cost. But the truth is, pain is not the enemy. It is the currency of life. It is the forge that tempers character, the weight that strengthens resolve, the shadow that defines your light. Every setback, every moment when the world seems insurmountable is not an endpoint, it is an initiation. To endure is not merely to survive. It is to evolve, to rise beyond the fragile expectations imposed upon you, to claim the power that has been waiting quietly, patiently within. Remember the explorers who crossed oceans when maps barely existed, the inventors who risked ruin for a fleeting idea, the philosophers who were ridiculed yet planted seeds that shaped civilizations. They endured because they saw something invisible to others, a future worth bleeding for. Now, consider the principle of relentless action. Endurance is meaningless without motion. You cannot wait for courage to appear like a guest. You must summon it, demand it, wrest it from the depths of your being. Action is the antidote to despair. Even imperfect action, repeated consistently, breaks the illusion of helplessness. Machiavelli would call it virtue. It's an active engagement with life that bends fortune toward the resolute, and yet action alone is insufficient if it is blind. It must be guided by a vision so vivid, so undeniable, that even the harshest trial cannot obscure it. Your purpose must burn with the intensity of 1,000 storms, otherwise the darkness will consume you. Every action, every choice is a brick in the fortress of your persistence. Delay, distraction, they are not minor flaws, they are cracks that, if ignored, will become chasms, swallowing your potential whole. Reflection is equally critical. Endurance without insight is mere brute force. The great philosophers, the timeless strategists, understood that suffering teaches, but only if you listen. Analyze your defeats. Study your weakness. Observe the patterns that have kept you from victory. Awareness is a weapon. It sharpens instinct, refines strategy, and transforms the raw material of struggle into discipline, intelligent effort. But there is a deeper layer. Still, the world is not merely testing you, it is revealing you. In the heat of adversity, you discover your true self, stripped of pretense, stripped of excuses, stripped of all illusion. The question is, will you accept this revelation or will you run? Every trial is a mirror reflecting both your limitations and your latent greatness. Ignore it and you remain small. Embrace it and you awaken a force capable of moving mountains. Commitment is not a soft ideal, it is a ruthless, unwavering force. To endure, you must embrace a radical fidelity to your own potential. This means prioritizing the long-term vision over immediate comfort. It means tolerating pain that others flee from. It means enduring rejection, ridicule, and solitude with the knowledge that every trial is a seed of transformation. Jim Rohn's wisdom is deceptively simple. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. But discipline is not comfortable. It is not gentle. It is the relentless grinding of self against self, a crucible in which mediocrity is incinerated and greatness is forged. Endurance is forged in the silent, lonely hours when no one is watching, when the world is indifferent, and when only your own integrity demands persistence. It is the invisible labor that becomes visible only in the form of results, in the shaping of a life that others will envy, but never understand. Resilience is more than bouncing back. It is bending without breaking, transforming every hit, every insult, every loss into momentum. The mind that cultivates resilience sees opportunity in chaos, pattern in disorder, and strength in vulnerability. You will fall. You will fail. You will be tempted to surrender. But those moments are precisely the ones that define you. Every moment of resistance, every refusal to quit, every act of perseverance accumulates simply silently, like water carving stone. And the world, cruel and indifferent, will eventually recognize your unwavering commitment, not with kindness, but with consequence, the reward of survival, the inheritance of mastery. There is a subtle irony here. The world appears to punish the persistent, yet in every test lies the seed of triumph. You will stumble, but every stumble is a lesson in disguise. There is a principle older than any philosophy, older than any strategy, older than any leader, the principle of self-trust. To endure is to trust that your internal compass, however battered, remains true. The world is a mirror reflecting your doubts, your fears, your hesitations. If you surrender to them, you are lost. If you trust yourself even in the darkness, even when the outcome is uncertain, you summon a force more powerful than circumstance itself. Every legend you admire understood this. Every innovator, every conqueror, every master who shaped history did so not because the world made it easy, but because they trusted themselves when the world seemed impossible. But the most dangerous deception is complacency masquerading as endurance. Do not mistake persistence without purpose for true strength. True endurance is ruthless, deliberate, and intelligent. It requires vigilance, introspection, relentless refinement, and finally, embrace inevitability. You cannot control the storm. You cannot command every circumstance. But you can control your response. There is a brutal clarity in this life will punish weakness, reward courage, and forgive nothing. Recognize this, and you no longer beg for mercy. You no longer plead for comfort. You stand unwavering because you have decided that surrender is unacceptable. Every hardship, every betrayal, every cruel twist of fate is merely material for your ascension. The harder the battle, the sharper the victory, the deeper the transformation. And in the end, when everything seems impossible, when the weight of existence threatens to crush you, remember this: you endure because you have no other choice. And because in enduring, you become immortal in the only way that matters, through the legacy of your own relentless spirit. Every act of courage, every refusal to yield, is a testament etched in time, invisible to the indifferent world, yet eternal in its effect. You think you know struggle. You think hardship is a temporary storm you can wait out, a passing inconvenience in the comfortable illusion you call life. But what if I told you that the world doesn't bend for the timid, that every failure, every betrayal, Every silent dismissal is a blade sharpened specifically to test the depth of your resolve. Endure, because comfort is death, because weakness is the enemy, because the storm will not wait for hesitation. Endure, because surrender is a lie, because greatness is forged in fire, and because the only proof you exist is in the strength you summon when everything conspires to make you quit. The world will attempt to break you, to deceive you, to lull you into inactivity. But your response, your endurance, is your defiance. Stand, move, act, persist, and remember the measure of your life is not in what you avoid, but in what you conquer. Endure, because to quit is to disappear quietly into oblivion, and to endure is to carve your name into eternity.